Welcome to Bodhi Unified Flow. This is the place where we take the complex, simplify it, and really amplify your performance. Today, we are diving into what is arguably the ultimate challenge of any lean transformation. In this explainer, we're looking at the 5S methodology, but we're going to laser focus on that elusive fifth S, sustain, or as it's known in Japanese, Shitsuke. You see, building a culture of discipline isn't just about keeping things tidy. It's about fundamentally rewiring how an entire organization operates on a deep behavioral level. So let's dive right in. Here's our game plan for today. We'll start by quickly reviewing the foundation of 5S. Then we'll properly define Shitsuke. After that, we'll tackle how to overcome what's known as 5S fade, look at exactly how to institutionalize discipline, and then wrap things up with a summary and our references. So what are you actually going to get out of this explainer? Well, by the end of our session, you'll walk away with a really profound grasp of Shitsuke. You're going to be able to spot exactly why systems decay, the actual psychological causes behind 5S fade, and most importantly, you'll have a toolkit of concrete, actionable mechanisms that you and your leadership can use to institutionalize real discipline on the shop floor. All right, let's jump into Section 1, the foundation of 5S, and building that crucial stability. Now, as you probably know, this whole system was developed as a core part of the Toyota production system back in the 1950s. And the prerequisite work for building a culture of discipline is, well, it's highly physical. First, we sort, or seri. We're talking ruthlessly eliminating unneeded items to clear both physical and mental clutter. Next up, set in order, or seitan. This is where you create things like shadow boards, so if a tool goes missing, it's instantly obvious to everyone. Third is shine, or seiso, maintaining your machines and your workspace to prevent quality failures. And fourth is standardize, saiketsu, where you create the standard operating procedures to lock in those first three steps. Collectively, these four steps systematically eliminate muda. That's the Japanese word for waste. They set a nice, stabilized stage for our final and honestly most critical step. Moving right along to Section 2, defining Shitsuke, or the cultural dimension. You know, the English translation sustain honestly kind of falls short. It doesn't quite capture the profound behavioral shift intended by its Japanese origin, Shitsuke. We aren't just talking about keeping a desk clean here. Shitsuke refers to true self-discipline. It's about ongoing training and developing this innate habit of following established procedures without anyone having to tell you to do it. It's literally the bridge that transforms a deliberate, forced corporate program into an invisible automatic habit. There's this incredibly powerful concept in lean manufacturing that states the ultimate goal of Shitsuke is the creation of a visual workplace. Imagine an environment that is self-explaining, self-ordering, and self-improving. It's an operational sweet spot where management doesn't have to rely on constant over-the-shoulder supervision anymore. Instead, the employees themselves take complete ownership, naturally making sure every single tool, material, and process stays in its perfectly optimized state. And this brings us to a major differentiator between an amateur setup and a mature, lean enterprise. On one side, you have what's called point kaizen. Think of this as your temporary, campaign-style cleanup blitz. It looks absolutely fantastic for about a week, and then everything just falls apart again. But on the other side, you have system kaizen. This is holistic sustainability. It's an organic lean transformation. Shitsuke basically acts as the training wheels for a developing company culture. It pulls an organization away from those isolated, frantic cleanups, providing the steady reinforcement needed until 5S behaviors just become second nature. Which leads us to Section 3, overcoming 5S fade, or the psychology of decay. We've all seen it happen, right? The dreaded 5S fade. It hits when the initial hype of a reorganization project totally fizzles out, and those old, cluttered habits creep right back in. But why does this happen? Well, first off, regression is driven by the psychological comfort of the status quo. Our brains just naturally default to what feels familiar. Secondly, actually changing deeply entrenched behaviors is incredibly taxing on us, both mentally and physically. And third, without constant reinforcement, like having a clear photograph of what the ideal state looks like, an organization's very definition of what counts as clean or organized will just naturally drift over time. So how in the world do we fight this psychological decay? The secret is relentless repetition. Shitsuke combats this natural drift through standard rituals. We're talking about the daily huddle, the 5-minute 5S sweep at the end of every single shift, the weekly audit. You have to repeat these rituals until the new standard actually completely overrides the psychological comfort of the old ways. You do it until maintaining the 5S standard literally becomes the path of least resistance.
Okay, let's get into the practical side of things with Section 4, Institutionalizing Discipline, the Mechanics. Building a real culture of discipline requires specific interlocking mechanisms to formalize this whole sustainment process. First up, you need 5S scorecards and audit boards. These give you a hard, quantitative measure of adherence. You track performance over time so you can spot exactly where standards might be slipping. Second, your daily huddles. 5S needs to be a permanent agenda item here, keeping it front and center in everyone's mind every single day. And third, you've got to incorporate 5S adherence right into individual and team performance reviews. That is how you align personal accountability with your broader organizational goals.
Right at the center of all this is a brilliant Kaizen principle, Genshi Genbutsu. This translates to the actual place, the actual thing. Because let's be real, you absolutely cannot achieve true operational understanding by just staring at reports and spreadsheets from a corner office. To really sustain 5S, leaders have to go and see the work where it's actually happening. You operationalize this through department tours, what we commonly call the Gemba walk. This forces leaders to actively observe the true state of 5S firsthand. At the end of the day, keeping this system alive demands massive commitment and self-discipline from every single level of the organization, but it really starts at the top. Management modeling is absolutely paramount. If leaders don't respect the 5S rules during a Gemba walk, why would anyone else? You build true accountability through continuous feedback loops, regular, rigorous audits to catch that 5S drift early, and even visual sustainment tools like 5S newsletters or posters. Keep the methodology highly visible. Oh, and you also want to bake 5S training right into the standard onboarding process for every new role. When your employees feel a genuine sense of ownership, they'll stick to the standards without needing anyone looking over their shoulder. And that brings us to our final section, the summary and references. Let's do a quick recap of our key takeaways. First, we established that Shitsuke, the fifth S, is so much more than just cleaning up. It's about psychological self-discipline and forging an innate, automatic habit. Second, we learned that to stop 5S fade, that natural, pesky decay driven by the comfort of the status quo, we have to lean on the relentless repetition of daily rituals. And finally, we covered the concrete mechanics. Structured tools like scorecards, regular audits, and leadership Gemba walks are the actual gears that institutionalize this culture of discipline. Before we officially wrap up, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. It's a bit of a provocative thought to help you gauge your own operational maturity. Look around your workspace or your manufacturing floor tomorrow and ask yourself, honestly, is my organization just participating in a temporary campaign-style cleanup, or are we actually putting in the rigorous, daily work of Shitsuke to build a truly self-explaining, self-ordering, and self-improving visual workplace? I want to give a massive thank you to all of you for hanging out with me on Bodhi Unified Flow for this deep dive. For those of you who want to geek out and explore this topic further, this explainer was built using some fantastic references. We pulled insights from the US EPA, the American Society for Quality, the Lean Enterprise Institute, and several other top-tier lean manufacturing resources. Thanks again for watching. Keep pushing the boundaries of operational excellence, and I will catch you in the next explainer.